So welcome back to another rebuild here on NBA 2K24 Next Gen. In today's video, we are back with another episode of our off-season rebuild series, and today it's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. This Bucks team finished out the regular season with a record of 49-33. That put them at third in the Eastern Conference, and unfortunately for Bucks fans, it's the second straight year of a first-round exit. Now, obviously, the circumstances are not completely fair in their favor, as Giannis did not play at all in this year's playoff run. They went to 6 with the Indiana Pacers, and unfortunately, they lost. I am also very well aware that Damian Lillard was hurt for the majority of the series, and that's really the question mark with this team, is just the health factor. We all know the talent is there. They made the huge blockbuster trade last offseason and acquired Damian Lillard. And honestly, when this team is fully healthy, I don't have any problem saying they're the second best team in the East. So the questions going into this offseason for the Bucks are that, do they want to run it exactly back the way things were, or do they maybe want to make some small tweaks? We're going to answer those questions, and I'll give you my thoughts, and we'll go over all the moves we're going to make in just a second. But of course, before we do, as always, if you guys have any other video ideas, make sure to let me know down below in the comment section. We have 4 off-season rebuilds this week. So many more of these teams have been getting eliminated. I've been loving these off-season rebuilds, and it really seems like you guys are as well. So there's another team who's already been eliminated that I have not done yet. Let me know which ones you want to see down below in the comment section, of course, with anything else. All right, man, let's do it. Even with this Milwaukee Bucks team having all the talent that they do, to me anyways, and it seems like a lot of other people may agree with this statement, it always kind of felt like something was just a little bit off with the Bucks this season. Now, I don't know if maybe that was Damian Lillard kind of acclimating himself in a new environment, obviously a new city. He's no longer the number one option. Certainly, definitely, probably played a factor in the equation. Of course, they went ahead and fired their coach, Adrian Griffin, after a relatively solid start, brought in Doc Rivers, and there's a lot of varying opinions about that. But we don't really know which direction we're going to go today. Let's start this off, as we always do, by talking about this roster. And as I mentioned, there is certainly a lot of talent here. I do not want to give the impression that this team sucks, because they definitely do not. Mr. Damian Lillard, he's 33 years old, obviously spent his entire career up until this season in Portland. Never really put the best core around him. He had one conference finals run there, and I believe it ended in 5 games. So he's 33, he's an 89 overall. I have absolutely zero plans to trade him today. When Dame is on, he is still one of the best players in all of basketball, and I'd like to see him get a ring. Basketball fan and me would like to see this, him get a ring at some point. I'd like my Celtics to win one first, but I'm being selfish. Patrick Beverley, I thought, was actually a really good trade for them. He had a really tough ending to his season after a couple different controversial moments with some fans over there in Indiana, but hard-nosed defender. Obviously, you know what Patrick Beverley kind of is. He's not going to give you a ton of offense. Some nights he will, but for me, I like the deal they made with the Philadelphia 76ers to get him in a swap with him and Cameron Payne. Ty Washington Jr., Ryan Rollins probably won't see court too much for me. Malik Beasley certainly up and down. He's a really good three-point shooter. I don't really know how much outside that he provides for us. I think there's maybe a little bit of defense there, but I don't really think he'll be a starting shooting guard for me in today's video. Pat Connaughton is here. Certainly can also shoot the 3-ball a little bit. I'm not really sure what we're going to do with Pat. I don't have a problem with him. I just think we can maybe upgrade. AJ Green, definitely another person who can shoot the basketball. Surprise, surprise. All 3 of our shooting guards are decent shooters. I would maybe like to get him into the rotation at some point, and I say that just because at 24 years old, that 3-point shot listed as an A, I certainly think there is a little bit of room for growth there, so we'll see. Not guaranteeing anything. Chris Middleton definitely had an up and down regular season, obviously dealt with some injuries, kind of at that age, that point in his career where that's kind of going to kind of be a thing. For me, though, Chris Middleton was the only reason that series with Indiana went to 6 games. I thought he was absolutely fantastic for the majority of their short playoff run. He's looking like a really reliable third option. If he is healthy, obviously elevates his game to a whole nother level come playoff time. So Chris Middleton, we're going to see. I'm not going to make any guarantees because I know how his regression works in this game, unfortunately. So we'll see. Jay Crowder, probably not going to be here for the long run, just to be honest with you. Marjon Beauchamp, Andre Jackson Jr., feel like they didn't get a ton of playing time. I almost felt like I saw at some points on like Milwaukee Bucks Twitter, them everybody just being, play the goddamn kids. The 23-year-old and the 22-year-old are sitting here. Let them get some minutes. I know Jackson eventually got a little bit of run in the playoffs, but it wasn't anything too serious. Giannis Antetokounmpo, top 3 player in the world, in my opinion. We're not getting into those rankings right now. He had an absolutely fantastic regular season, and I'm not really sure why. It felt like he was never really in the MVP conversation. I don't know why that is. The numbers certainly backed up that he should have been, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, the MVP is solely an offensive award at this point. People don't value defense anymore for whatever reason. It's just the way basketball is these days. And I'm not saying Giannis was bad offensively or not up to the standards of anybody else who was in that race, but My opinion, he might be the most dominant two-way star in this league. I'm just putting it out there. Bobby Portis was also incredible for the majority of their short playoff run. I know he got ejected from one of the games against Indiana, but he's going to be an important decision maker. His future is going to be an important decision we make this offseason. You know, entering that last year of the contract, gonna see where we want to go with there. The human cheerleader himself, Thanasis Antetokounmpo, doesn't really serve many purposes except for playing really hard when there's 12 seconds left in the game when you're down 30, or being a really good, I guess, sidekick on the bench. Chris Livingston, we'll see. He's only 20 years old. And then the center spot for me is an interesting one. I'm not exactly sure where we're going to go because I thought Brook Lopez had a really, really solid 2022-2023 season. I didn't see it as much. He was in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year last regular season, not this one we just had. And then it just felt like that, that same energy almost wasn't really there. And I understand he's 36. I'm not expecting him to turn back the clock or anything like that, but I can't have a liability at the center spot. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying we're kind of walking a thin line right now. And then Danilo Gallinari, I don't know. All right, player retirements. We always override LeBron James's retirement. Popovich, we do the same exact thing. We take a look at the Hall of Fame. Russell Westbrook calling it a career. He'll enter the Hall of Fame. I wonder how many years Russ has left. Westbrook, Lowry, and Griffin all getting their jerseys retired. We'll take a look at the draft lottery real quick. I'm pretty much sure we don't have any lottery picks. So let's sim through it. It is the Wizards, the Jazz, the Grizzlies, Trailblazers, and Pistons. Honestly, doesn't surprise me too much. Isn't the draft lottery this Sunday? Don't they always do it during the week too? I don't know why I thought it was anyways. This is kind of going to be, the coach of the future for the Bucks. They've obviously gone ahead and decided that Doc Rivers was the guy they wanted to have coaching them moving forward. So Adrian Griffin obviously was not the answer to that, even though I thought the Bucks were playing relatively well, especially offensively. They didn't really look great defensively under Adrian Griffin, not AJ Griffin, excuse me. So Doc Rivers obviously helped with that a little bit. The record wasn't fantastic, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's easy to take over a team midseason. It's obviously not, no matter who you are. So I'll give Doc another chance. Of course, we are going to make our own changes to this roster and all the personnel, and then we'll decide his future after maybe a season or two. So up to the draft, we do not have our first round pick. Who does have our first round pick? We actually don't have a lot of future assets at all. Is it, it would actually logically make sense if it was the Trailblazers, and that wouldn't surprise me. So let me just actually go check real quick. Who has it? I'll go check and make sure that we're actually not supposed to have it, but it would make, oh no, they don't. All right, who the hell has our draft pick? Nope. Weird. All right, let me just look this up real quick. I'm going to read you off what Fanspo just told me real quick, and you can see I have my draft pick back, and I believe that would be correct. All I'm seeing for outgoing draft picks is 2024, New Orleans holds the right to swap, meaning you can swap the picks. It doesn't mean New Orleans just gets both of them. So our pick was number 23. The Pelicans was number 21. Obviously, they're not going to swap that. They want the better one, so we're all set there. I'm not seeing anything about them having both. So if I'm taking this draft pick back and I'm wrong, that's my apologies. But more likely than not, it's just 2K being dumb as hell. Now, for the 2025 first-round pick, Milwaukee's 2025 first-round pick to New Orleans protected selections 5 to 30, or to New York Knicks protected for selections 1 through 4. I know there's 85,000 swaps and everything like that, and I'm trying to trace back what deal it could have been with the Pelicans. I'm assuming, if just my thought off the top of my head, it was probably the Drew Holiday trade, and it's a lot of draft picks. I didn't realize that's still going on, if that's what it is, but obviously, you won a championship, so it's very well worth it. But my guess and my belief right now anyways is that this first round pick should be ours. All I saw is that they can swap. They don't just get both of them. So I'm taking it. If I'm wrong on that, my apologies, but I believe I'm right. We're going to use both of these draft picks because we don't have a lot of other future assets, and drafting somebody here could either be a rotation piece or a potential player that we trade at some point in time. So Tyrese Proctor is sitting here. Patrick Beverley is currently our only backup point guard. It feels absolutely idiotic not to draft his potential replacement, and that is exactly what I'm going to do, especially considering he's the highest rated prospect on the board. So I know it says Proctor, Prosper, it's Proctor. Now to number 4 overall in round number 2. Tyler Smith is sitting here. I feel like I've heard a little bit about him. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know a lot, but you know what? I think another big man potentially could be useful for us. He's going to be my pick. So 2 new prospects coming in here, 72 and wow, Smith's actually a higher overall, respectively. I'm going to change Tyrese Proctor's name to where it's actually spelled correctly, and then I will see you guys with our next move. Team player options here. Marjon Beauchamp will be coming back for under $3 million. He's 23. He's a 74 overall. That makes a lot of sense, at least in my head. I'm not going to qualify Ty Washington Jr. We very much, well, maybe have just drafted the guy that plays over him. And Jalen Galloway, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you all and pretend that I know who that is. So we enter free agency. Obviously, the money situation's not really on our side right now. We have a lot of big contracts kind of tied up right now. So we have some decisions to make with where we want to go with this team. There is certainly a conversation to entertain about, do we want to run it back with Brook Lopez? Do we want to find an upgrade at the shooting guard spot? And I think the answer to one, if not both of those questions, is yes. Our first big trade of the offseason is here, and it is going to be a deal with, I guess, the rival Miami Heat. Bobby Portis, I think, is going to be a very important piece, or would have been, for this team. Ultimately, I have bigger needs, and I decided to go ahead and make a trade for a guy like Scary Terry, who's going to jump into the starting five at the shooting guard spot. And then Jaime Jaquez Jr., I can actually not believe is getting thrown into this deal. I had no problem moving on from Livingston and Connaughton, and then they wanted Andre Jackson Jr., who certainly would have been nice to hang on to, but Jaime is just going to replace him as the backup small forward. So not having to give up a single draft pick kind of feels like a home run here. I don't have any problem with Bobby, and as I mentioned, would have been a nice contributor, but this feels like a really good kind of first trade. We're going to entertain a conversation here with the Toronto Raptors and see if they're maybe willing to trade us Jakob Poeltl. Now, you can have a decision or a conversation if you want to about who you'd prefer. And I fully understand that Brook Lopez's emergence as a three-point shooter in recent years has been very important, considering, you have Giannis at the power forward spot. And I understand his three-point shooting has gotten better. Not my point. My point is that Jakob Poeltl is not only on a multi-year contract, he's also, 8 years younger than Brook Lopez. This deal makes all the sense in the world to us. We don't have a ton of assets, so I can't really swing for a home run right now. But hitting a nice solid double here and adding Jakob Poeltl would be beautiful, in my opinion. So how about we make a deal? All right, they're not going to take that. I have 2 draft picks I could potentially trade. My kind of take on it right now is I'd rather try to hang on to those. So we're good here. I'm actually going to play green behind Rozier. Now with the addition of Jaime Jaquez Jr., that allows me to maybe be a little more flexible in trading Marjon Beauchamp. He's kind of the odd man out right now. Tyler Smith's going to play behind Giannis. So you know what? If this helps me facilitate a deal, I'll do 1. I'm not doing 2 first. They take it. All right. Again, I know it's not some sort of significant upgrade, if you want to call it an upgrade at all, and maybe the lack of shooting now around Giannis, especially at the center spot, may end up hurting us a little bit, but we have more flexibility with the multiple years here on the contract, and age especially, of Jakob Poeltl. So got to kind of trade off some things if you want to, maybe take a little bit of a risk to have some success. So only thing right now is finding ourselves a backup center. We have a little bit of money to spend. Drew Eubanks, okay. Luke Cornett, I like Luke. He's actually been playing pretty well recently. Oh, man. You know what? I'm actually going to take a little flyer here on Mo Bamba. He's still only 26 years old. Out of all the guys that are here, I guess maybe the most potential. So you know what? Not the greatest signing in the world, but it's certainly serviceable for 1 season. So Mo Bamba, welcome to the team. Everybody else, you're free to go. I know if this was real life, I'd probably bring back Thanasis just because Giannis would want me to, but who cares? It's not. All right, man, we are all set. I will see you guys at the start of year number 1. It was certainly a very eventful first offseason, to say the least. We added 2 new starters to this team. We pretty much completely revamped this bench unit, and the stars are still here. So I'm excited about what the possibilities are with this team. There's certainly still some risk to be dealt with, but you know what? I'm excited. It's Damian Lillard, who did go down 2 overalls. It's something to definitely keep an eye on. End of the day, he's still Damian Lillard, but 2K and their regression, you know how it is. Scary Terry, new addition here, going to be my starting shooting guard. Maybe a little undersized for the 2, but I'll live with it. Chris Middleton here at our 3. Giannis Antetokounmpo as our power forward, and then new addition here, and Jakob Poeltl. I'm actually surprised Middleton's overall didn't go down. Typically it does, and quite heavily, quite quickly, so I'm actually very pleased with that. The bench is interesting. It's a pretty big youth movement on the bench right now. Jaime Jaquez Jr. obviously going to be our 6th man. You got Mo Bamba, who we brought in. He's going to be my backup center. As crazy as it is, he is our 2nd highest overall off the bench. Then you got Tyler Smith, who we drafted in round 2. AJ Green, who I'd like to see develop a little bit as my backup shooting guard. And then Tyrese Proctor, our 10th and final guy, who we actually drafted in round 1. So this is the team. I understand that, it's hard to win a championship, especially with a bench unit like this one. But this starting 5 has a lot of firepower, and I truly do believe it's up there with some of the best in the league. So here goes nothing, man. I'll see you guys at the end of year number 1. Year one comes to an end. We finish with a record of 51-31. That's 2 games better than what we started out with here. And although it's not, 55-60 wins, I can live with it. SGA is your MVP here at the end of the first regular season. Alexander Sarr is a Washington Wizard. He's your Rookie of the Year. Also your 6th Man of the Year. Wemby is your DPOY. Trace Jackson Davis, Most Improved. Zion, your Clutch Player of the Year. Mark Daigneault, Head Coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder, wins Coach of the Year after leading them to 64 wins. All right, let's take a look. We are the 2 seed here in the East, which is certainly, nice to see. This game loves the Cleveland Cavaliers, but we are going to have a first-round matchup with a play-in team whenever we do simulate through that. Let's dive into some numbers real quick. See how everybody played throughout the regular season. It was Giannis, 22 points a game. Wow. Kind of expected him to, I know we added more guys that can score the ball, but that's interesting. I'm not saying it's a bad season. We did have 5 guys at 10-plus points a game. It's just maybe a little surprising almost. He also led us in boards and also led us in assists. All right, round 1. Who's it going to be? It is us and the 76ers. You got Joel Embiid versus Giannis, and interesting surrounding core. They have 3 new starters with Matas Buzelis, Gordon Hayward, and Justin Edwards in here. They got Hartenstein coming off the bench. That looks scarily accurate. Obviously, the picture of Maxey and Embiid, they're actual pictures. This is like the 2K generated, auto type body. This looks like better than this does. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it looks more HD almost. I don't really know. I'm just talking. All right, we dropped game 1, and game 2. Holy shit. All right, down 2-1. Do tie it up at 2-2. Go up 3-2. Game 7. This is the future of Doc Rivers right here. So let's hopefully win this one. We do. All right, not a great first round. I can live with it. I would like to see the numbers in round 1 just because we went to 7 with a team that was not nearly as good as us. I need some more points here, Giannis. Everything else is great. Field goal percentage is fantastic, but what are we doing? I need a little more here. I do. Jaime kind of took a back seat. All right, man. It is the Orlando Magic here in the second round. Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, DeMar DeRozan. I'm not going to lie to you. If Franz Wagner shoots the 3-point ball like he did this season in real life, then DeMar DeRozan would be potentially one of the worst fits next to him. Imaginable. Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter Jr., you got Cole Anthony off the bench, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Wagner. All right, here goes nothing against a really solid young core and DeMar DeRozan in Orlando. Quickly, okay, it's a sweep. On to, wow, the Brooklyn. Are you kidding? Really? Are we serious? Okay. Well, the Brooklyn Nets and the power of friendship are going to attempt to take us down here. Really? Really? I respect stat lines like this. Don't give a fuck about rebounding, no assists whatsoever, barely playing any defense, nothing but buckets. Good for you, Cam Thomas. I have no idea how we lost that team. There is no realistic reason that that's a team we should lose to. What are we doing? Right? All right. Oh, what was Middleton's numbers? Those looked ugly as hell, too. How'd Middleton play? That's unacceptable. All right, well, the Thunder are now taking on the Nets in the finals, and oh my God. I'm not really sure we would have beaten the Thunder, but there's no reason for losing to the Nets. I can't override LeBron's retirement twice. I am very happy I traded Brook Lopez at this point because obviously he would have just retired and we would have lost him for nothing. Can't do Popovich again as well, so both those legends are going to be gone, moving on to greener pastures. LeBron gets his jersey retired by 3 franchises. Harden gets his retired by the Houston Rockets. All right, it is draft lottery time. I'm damn well positive we don't have any picks, but we'll sim through it nonetheless. Oh, good, the Nets, who were just in the finals. Awesome. Oh, the Thunder, who are also just in the finals. Are you shitting me? What is this game? What the fuck is going on? All right, we have a big decision here with Doc. Who are the candidates? That's going to, okay, Stauffer's here, Underwood, Missoula, Jason Kidd, Mark Daigneault's there. I have a lot of interest in Mark Daigneault. All right. I think this would be a fantastic hire. I'm also going to just kind of give myself a little insurance here. I'll also try to get Stauffer and then I guess Missoula, just because the ratings are there as well. All right, my order is Daigneault, Stauffer, and then Missoula. And we get just Missoula. Actually, no, I can get Stauffer as well. Wait, can I get him? Okay, cool. He obviously has perfect ratings. I just wanted to mix it up a little bit and try to get Daigneault, and probably could have gotten Missoula to also mix it up. But you know what? He has perfect ratings, and we fucking need it at this point. Losing to the damn Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals. So no draft picks this year. That's actually fine by me. We can hopefully kind of make some moves, some tweaks with the guys that we have right now, because we do have a lot of solid talent here. It's just whether or not everything can kind of come together. So Middleton will be entering unrestricted free agency. Jaquez and Tyler Smith will both be returning. And I'm not going to let Chris Middleton walk out the door for nothing. That would be just insanely stupid. So he wants, wow, Jesus Christ. For those conference final stats, you want $33.5 million? Must be nice. Must be nice. All right. I'm going to bring him back. I'm going to probably give him at least one more year just because I don't think he was necessarily the real issue throughout the entirety, of this run so far, but I would like to make at least one upgrade. A deal here coming up with the Charlotte Hornets is going to land us Mark Williams. I think the ceiling on Mark is a little bit higher, obviously 6 years younger than Jakob Poeltl. He's making a little bit less money. Not that that's really a big deal for us right now, but we're also acquiring Nick Richards, who's a little bit of a better backup center than Mo Bamba. Now, I don't love the idea of giving up a first-round draft pick, one of the two we have access to right now, but unfortunately, there wasn't really a strong market for Terry Rozier, so looks like he's going to be remaining with us. So excited to have Mark Williams here. Obviously, a little bit, as I mentioned, higher ceiling, and I'm excited to have him. So any other major moves? I don't know. I think I'd like to maybe upgrade AJ Green. I thought his overall would shoot up a little bit. Ultimately, it really did not. So just taking a look at some of the names here in free agency right now, I mean, hypothetically could bring back Malik Beasley. I don't know how much that would really move the needle. Not really seeing anybody here at the point guard spot, and then shooting. All right, you know what? I'll actually bring in Karis LeVert. I think he is definitely an upgrade over AJ Green. We might see a little bit of regression, but now it gives us the flexibility to maybe move Green for a draft pick, just like this, because obviously we are pretty low on some draft assets right now. So thank you very much, Chicago, for a first-round pick. And at this point, Dame's 35. It certainly makes me a little bit nervous. This roster, really besides Williams, is kind of old. So I am certainly nervous, especially after an exit to the Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference Final. So I'll see you guys at the start of year 2. Time is starting to tick just a little bit faster. We can see some of the overalls starting to take some hits, most notably Damian Lillard. You see a little bit here with Middleton as well. So I'm officially getting a little bit nervous. Now, although we did not make, I don't want to say a blockbuster move. I guess you can call Mark Williams that if you want. I don't really consider it one. We did significantly improve this bench, in my opinion. We have a couple new pieces along with some nice overall developments. We're in a decent spot. Also, new head coach with Mike Stauffer. Here's how it's going to look. Damian Lillard, who is down to an 85. You got Scary Terry here, who actually had a pretty solid season for us. Chris Middleton went down 1 overall. Giannis Antetokounmpo still going strong as our best player, MVP candidate, all that. And then new addition here with Mark Williams. Bench unit, Jaime Jaquez Jr. will remain our 6-man. New addition here in Nick Richards, Karis LeVert as well. And then Tyler Smith and Tyrese Proctor are both developing quite nicely in terms of their overalls, both 76s respectively. So, we weren't that far off. I will be honest with you, as I mentioned, when it happened last year, I thought we would have gotten spanked by the Thunder. But realistically, we were, just not a choke job away from the finals, which I understand is the story for so many different franchises. But we're right there. We really are. So hopefully these pieces put us over the top. New head coach and all. I'll see you guys at the end of year number 2. Much better second season for us here in Milwaukee. We go 60-22, which is, of course, our best record yet after 51 wins in year 1. Nikola Jokic, triple-double on the season. That would be MVP number 3? Yeah, no, 3. Well, probably 4 because he'll likely win it. You get it. Cooper Flag, team that just won the East, had the, first overall pick? Yep, they got him. Darius Walker, 6th man of the year. You don't see that too often. Good for you. Wemby's your deep boy. Alexander Sarr, most improved. Ant is your clutch player of the year. It makes a lot of sense. Mark Daigneault, head coach of the Thunder, wins coach of the year once again. So they are tied with us in terms of wins. Let's check out the standings. We are 2 behind them. I'm all over the fucking place. But yes, they were the best team in the league. We are actually the 2 seed again. Cleveland, who 2K has some weird kind of obsession with. They are the 1 seed. All right, Giannis. Again, the scoring's a little more spread out than I kind of initially anticipated it would be. But as long as we're winning games, I'm really fine. I don't really care who does what. So let's see who do we got here in the first round of the playoffs. It is us and the Pistons. Hypothetically, okay, they're actually pretty good. I'm just saying this should not be a really challenging first-round series like it was last year in round 1. So we are up 2-1 real quick, go up 3-1. We put them out of their misery in 5 games. The Toronto Raptors here in the Eastern Conference semis. I'm not going to try to be rude. This team just doesn't move me. Thanks. All right, us in the Cavs here. Drew Holiday. Where did Darius Garland go? Did you trade him for Lauri Markkanen? Darius Garland has, to say it nicely, been less than good so far in the playoffs. He needs to step up because I'm not going to go on a whole rant right now, but this man right here, Donovan Mitchell, he needs some goddamn help. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. It's been bad so far for the support he's got kind of around him. So I know obviously there's some potential talks about him asking out this offseason, so that'll be interesting to keep an eye on. NBA offseason never disappoints, and I'm sorry, Cavs fans, I didn't mean to make you upset. All right, we're 2-2 right now with Cleveland go down 3-2 and get bounced in 6. It is a similar exit as it was last year. Eastern Conference Finals. That looks like it's our ceiling right now with the way things kind of stand. So heading into our final offseason, we have no choice. We got to make, changes. Running it back would just be insanely stupid. Obviously, we can't upgrade the head coach any further than we already have because he has literally perfect ratings. So we're going to have to decide, who has to go. And it's tough. I don't really want to trade anybody, but it's just kind of the point where we are at. Some tough decisions have to and will be made. So no draft picks. That's actually fine by me. Certainly not going to trade into the draft. Why Tyrese Proctor would not be picked up for $3 million is beyond me. Williams and Smith both entering restricted free agency. I'd certainly like to retain both of them. And then Terry Rozier, also a free agent. So I'm going to pay everybody, and then we might do some sign-in trades, but we'll go from there. I'm going to give Terry about 20 annually, and then Nick Richards, certainly not going to let him walk out the door either. So Tyler Smith, he was a second-round pick. We don't have bird rights on him, but he's qualified. The game's going to let me match whatever he gets. So we'll wait on that, but we are now going to start looking at a couple different trades. All right, so this might be a little controversial. Not the trade I'm going to make, because I do think it's a good trade overall. We're adding Lauri Markkanen to this team. He's 5 years younger than Chris Middleton, and although Chris Middleton was not a problem, he was ending up as our fourth option. I think he fit that role really, really well. Lauri Markkanen is certainly going to be an upgrade. We saw Chris have a little regression last year in terms of overall, and I fully expect it to be the same as we head into year 3. So Lauri Markkanen is coming, and you're probably asking yourself, well, what's the controversial part? And it's the part that I didn't really want to show you, but I will, because I'm an honest man. I am going to pass on the opportunity to trade for De'Aaron Fox, and you're going to find out why in just a second. Now, you might just be saying, hey, well, maybe it's because you want to get Damian Lillard a ring. No, I want to win. I don't really give a shit who's here to do it with me. The problem is that Damian Lillard is an 85 overall. He's 36 years old, and he's making $63 million, meaning there's not a very strong trade market for him. He's only 3 stars in value. So I wouldn't really be able to facilitate any sort of deal that would have made a significant upgrade. We just don't have the real assets to do so. And ultimately, a little part of me does want to see Dame get a ring. I'm hoping he can still be good enough to do so, because we know that overall is continuing and will continue to go down. So it's unfortunate, but we're kind of, just in a tight spot right there with what we actually had to work with. So I'm a little bit nervous because Dame has not gotten better throughout the course of this video. He's actually gotten worse. But that's kind of what you got when, you're dealing with a guy who's been in the league for a long time, who's certainly going to have some regression. So excited to have Markkanen in here. I do think he is an upgrade over Chris Middleton. So we'll just see how things kind of play out. At this point in time, we are certainly not done making trades, though. Okay, a blockbuster trade has been made with the Houston Rockets that is going to land us Jalen Green. I'm actually a little surprised that went through. So Scary Terry, who actually played pretty well in his third option role for us. Max Strus, who we just got in the deal there, that got us Lauri Markkanen. And then all 3 remaining first-round picks we had are officially gone. They are going to Houston, and Jalen Green is going to be here as our new starting shooting guard. Look, my kind of thought process on this was, we don't have a ton of assets, so I want to be careful where I go ahead and kind of spend those assets. But ultimately, we had to get better. We had to go ahead and do something. And Jalen Green, who's pushing 90 overall, obviously a whole lot younger, is certainly going to be an upgrade. So I am a little bit nervous about the outlook of this team, but the moves that we have made to improve this group are certainly not going to go unnoticed. So at this point in time, we need to find ourselves a new backup shooting guard, and then we're going to wait, obviously, on Tyler Smith. So that's really my only thing I have to do right now. Oh, man. Bogdanovic, he just regresses like crazy. I know it. So, you know what? You guys might give me some shit for this, but Cam Reddish, who I know is not going to regress, actually going to be my option there. So, I'm going to pick him up. Tyler Smith's obviously going to just sign a deal or accept his qualifying, whichever comes first, and obviously I'll deal with it then. But I am a little nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. This team is certainly good, but there are certainly still a lot of question marks. So, I'll see you guys at the start of year 3. We've had 2 straight playoff runs that have resulted in Eastern Conference Finals appearances, and unfortunately, that's where the end of the line came for us. This offseason, we decided to make some pretty drastic moves. Obviously, 2 new huge additions in this starting 5 with Jalen Green and Lauri Markkanen. And of course, because I'm assuming the majority of you are not blind, you can see Damian Lillard's overall continues to do nothing but tank. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Dame I don't want to say hasn't been playing well, because for Damian Lillard expectations, you hope you can get a little bit more than this, but ultimately, it's not like he's playing terribly. So I know the overall is even lower than it was where it was at last season, but if he can be around, say, 18, 19 points a game, maybe even 17 I could live with, I'd be fine with that because obviously we have added some new pieces that are hopefully going to improve this team. So I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm also not going to lie to you and tell you that if I had a trade offer that significantly would have improved our point guard spot, I would have done it. I don't have any loyalty to Damian Lillard. I want to see him get a ring. It's not bend or break for me though. So he's still my point guard. Jalen Green, super excited about what he could be for this team here. I know obviously 20 points versus 20 points, and I get it. It's the backcourt, but I do think he's going to fit in this team well. Added Lowry Markkanen, a little more shooting, a little more size. Not debating Lowry versus Middleton shooting, but you get it. Giannis still here at the 4, and then Mark Williams remaining as our center. Bench unit's an interesting one. I'm surprised Jaime Jaquez Jr.'s overall hasn't moved quite a bit. It feels like it's been hovering around an 81 for a couple years now, which is a little interesting. Nick Richards remains our backup center. Tyler Smith accepted his qualifying. Tyrese Proctor still in here as our backup point guard. Then Cam Reddish, who, I don't know, he's playing 10 minutes a night. Who the hell cares? I will see you guys at the end of the final regular season. I'm happy to say we do have our best record yet here at the end of the final regular season. We go 64-18, and although that's great, it's still just the regular season. So we've had 2 pretty solid regular seasons so far. Didn't mean shit come playoff times. Hopefully this time around is a little different. Let's just rename the award at this point and give it to Jokic every year. Cameron Boozer's your Rookie of the Year. He is in New York. Dylan Harper is in Oklahoma City. He's your 6th man. Wemby just, again, it's every year. Harper also wins the Most Improved. Fox Clutch Player of the Year. Could have had him. I could have, but this team looks drastically different if I make that deal instead. And then Stafford does win Coach of the Year, assuming that means we had the best record. It typically does here in 2K. We were 7 games up on the Raptors, and we were 1 game up on the Thunder for the best record in all of basketball. So I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. Here are the numbers across the board. Dame about 18. It's kind of what I was expecting or kind of hoping for, if you will. So it's interesting. I don't know why. I just really thought... I'm not expecting... I understand there's very different circumstances, but like why... You know, like it feels like something's a little off right now. I don't really know. So we'll find out. I mean, hopefully this team's battle-tested enough. You would think they are with how old they are. But we'll find out. I want a little revenge right now. This Brooklyn Nets team, who is full of, I guess, really solid, I don't want to say role player. I've always been looking for this. What is the tier that's above role player but below star? Because there's a lot of those guys in the league right now. Like, for example, I'd say... You know, maybe a guy like Mikal Bridges would be that. What do you consider Mikal Bridges? He's not a role player, but he's not a star. You don't build around Mikal Bridges. Well, you don't if you're smart. I understand the Brooklyn Nets are attempting to. What is that called? I don't know. I've always been looking for a term like that. Like, what would you call Derek White? Derek White's not a star. He's not a role player. He's better than a role player, unless you all want to continue with that take, which he's not. What do you call those guys? I don't know. I'm looking for a term. All right, we are currently up 3-1 right now, and we close them out in 5. Moving on to the 76ers. They give us a little challenge here in year 1, but we are a new team, and so are they. So Mookie Cook makes me think of Mookie Betts. Fucking Red Sox trading that man. I love him. All right, not to dwell on the past. We are currently up 2-0 right now. We go up 3-0. That's a clean sweep. All right, this has been our kryptonite so far. Not the Raptors, the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's take a look at this Raptors team, though. Quickly, Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, Barnes, Miles Turner. Again, we swept them last year, I'm almost positive. This team still doesn't really move me very much, but I do want to be careful. Okay, up 3-1. We're in the finals. We were in the finals, and we have Victor Wembanyama in the San Antonio Spurs. So, interesting. Let's see around. Carlton Carrington, Vassell DeBansta. What? Huh? How? Why? What? Come on. Why would... Okay, this is actually not as impressive as that. Why is Paolo in San Antonio? What are we doing, Orlando? I mean, come on. Don't give me that bullshit. Oh, man, that's ridiculous. All right, up 3-2 right now. Please just close them out. I'd like to just not stress about a Game 7. That's the way I typically like things to go. All right, a little bit of a back and forth here. I'll see you guys in there. All right, we're up 7. There's, 3 minutes left to go here. I would like to think that I have, solidified this enough where I don't have to stress, but why? What is this fucking team that's in here right now? Put the starters in. That's a miss. Wemby somehow doesn't get the rebound. Giannis got 12, 11, and 10 on that. This is what I'm talking about. It feels very, very strange the way, his numbers are kind of going. But we're in a spot right now. Let's have a conversation about the Milwaukee Bucks. As I talked about a little bit to open this video, it certainly wasn't, some sort of huge success. That's a bad play by me. The first season of Damian Lillard in Milwaukee. And as I mentioned, I understand, moving to a new city, new team. Again, I get it. It's completely different for him. Circumstances have entirely changed. But it was not a great season for Milwaukee. Throughout the entire course, it just always felt like something was a little off. And I don't know if it was the personnel, the construction of the roster. I was never in love with their bench. Their starting five's obviously talented, but I know injuries definitely hurt them a little bit as well, but it never felt like everything was really clicking. So for me, if I had to take a guess about what they'd consider this offseason, I think Chris Middleton's probably played well enough, especially in that limited playoff time they had this year, where you probably have to hang on to him. I also don't know what his market looks like. And then when it comes to a guy like Brook Lopez, maybe Bobby Portis, the question's going to be, are you giving? I don't want to say giving up too much, but is the return enough? To maybe move on from one of those guys. So a lot of conversations. You got to take a look at least at what the market looks like for those two. Ultimately, I think they have to get a little bit of an upgrade at the shooting guard spot. I don't think that would hurt at all. And then maybe a piece or two new off the bench. I understand Bobby Portis is a great... Really? Come on. Oh, that's a charge. I understand Bobby Portis is a really good bench player, and, he's pretty much always in the conversation for Sixth Man of the Year, but... you should always prioritize the starters that fit well together in your starting lineup. So that's just my take on it. Obviously, they can't just snap their fingers and do these things. And I do think, having Damian Lillard, get now a pretty much complete offseason now here in Milwaukee would certainly help. Having everybody healthy would certainly help. And who knows? I mean, it's the second straight year where injuries have kind of killed the Bucks come playoff time. So hopefully that is not the future for them. I love watching Giannis. I love watching Dame. And I really hope at some point they do get a ring together. Not before my Celtics, though. Not before my Celtics. And yes, I know Giannis already has one. So we'll close them out here. I am excited. I'm sure there will be some sort of drama, not even just with the Bucks, but with the league as a whole this offseason. Every single year when we're like, oh, look, it's not a great free agency class. There's not a lot of teams that have money to spend. There's always a blockbuster. I don't remember the last NBA offseason where there hasn't been like at least one blockbuster move, whether it's a signing or a trade. It always delivers. It's the best. All right, we're done with this. I will see you guys with the Finals MVP. After my stress levels kick up just a little bit too high, we can relieve those stress levels. We get a championship here. Giannis is your Finals MVP. Very interesting numbers from him. All right, we are all set. That is a championship. Obviously, I was, a little concerned heading into this final season, both just with some of the age and just some of just the general kind of depth we had here. But ultimately, I think it played itself out pretty well. I would have liked to have won more than one championship, but let's be honest. I think if you told any sort of Bucks fans, you're going to win a championship within the next 3 years, only one, but you win one, I think they'd be fine with that. So that's it for me. Let me know any other video ideas down below in the comment section. As always, thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.